Doing actual real-life hunting sounds pretty hard. I mean, think about it. You have to get all the gear, which must be expensive, and get a license. Then you have to wait for the right time of year, drive out to your nearest hunting ground, and then avoid being shot by somebody else while you wait for hours, maybe all day even, for an animal to appear. Then you have to shoot another living creature, which doesn't sound easy to do either. And even in the best case scenario, you have a whole carcass that you have to haul off and eat or whatever. I've never actually been hunting, so any real hunters out there, feel free to correct me in the comments, but all of that sounds pretty hard and time consuming. So as a VR gamer, and if you're seeing this, you can probably relate, I'd much rather get all of the highs and lows of the hunting experience by strapping my MetaQuest 3 to my face and doing a little virtual hunting in VR. At least that was my thought process when trying out Virtual Hunter for the first time. If you're looking for a VR hunting game, I can't recommend one more than Virtual Hunter. Sure, there are other VR games where you do some hunting, but that's not the core of those games, and the hunting mechanics are pretty straightforward. In this VR hunting game, hunting is all of the game, and that focus made it very fun. So to explain the feeling of playing Virtual Hunter, it would be easiest to just tell you the story of my first successful hunt. For the record, this wasn't my first virtual hunt in this game, just my first successful hunt. At this point, I'd spent an hour at least just running through the woods, chasing animal calls, and not even spotting a single critter or firing a shot. My first successful hunt started off with a little luck, and after finding some fox tracks and hearing a fox noise in the distance, I was on the trail. Sure, this wasn't big game or anything I was after, but we all have to start somewhere. I was very cautious trailing this fox. I didn't want to go too quickly and possibly scare it off, so I took my time, I crouched, and followed. Though when tracking this fox in Virtual Hunter, I never felt bored, despite doing mostly nothing but walking in a straight line and looking through my scope from time to time. I actually felt really excited. There was a constant sense of anticipation. I felt that at any moment, I might actually spot my elusive prey. I followed the tracks, found some droppings, and the fox calls kept coming from closer and closer. After following it for a while, I didn't even know how long, I spotted it. The excitement at not shooting, but just seeing the animal I was following was incredible. I'd actually done it. Tracked an animal successfully, and it was in plain sight in a large field. A more experienced hunter, at this point, might have gone prone, crawled a little closer, and really lined up their shot to make sure that they hit something vital. I, being a very inexperienced hunter at this point, immediately lined up and fired. Something in the back of my brain panicked and thought that just by the act of my seeing it, the fox would realize I was behind it and run away. I thought that I should just take my shot and risk it, which was a bad idea. I did hit the fox at least, but not in any vital organs, so it ran away, wounded. I saw it run and immediately chased after it. The chase after a shot, even a failed one, is another exhilarating part of VR hunting. My prey left a trail of blood and poop. They always seem to poop a lot after you shoot them in this game. No idea why. Anyway, I was right on the fox's tail and sprinted across the field. With some blood mixed into the trail, it was even easier to follow. I tracked with more urgency, maybe too quickly. But after a short chase, I spotted it again across a field, about to enter some trees where it would be much harder to see from afar. It was a long shot, it was pretty far away, but I lined up and I took it anyway. I looked through my scope again after rechambering another round and saw the fox just lying there. So I ran over, not really believing that I'd done it. Succeeding just once had taken me a couple of hours, but the feeling of success after having to try so hard to down even a fox in this game was so worth the effort. Virtual Hunter shows you where and what you hit with your bullets, and it wasn't surprising to me that I'd missed all vital organs with both hits, but on a fox, 2 hits alone were enough. Since a fox is a small animal, it wasn't worth much in-game currency that you can use to buy new equipment and weapons, but that didn't really matter to me. What mattered were the highs and lows of the tracking and the chase. Since then, I've repeated this process quite a few times on quite a few animals, and it hasn't really gotten old. Not all animals are the same, and there are enough differences in them and the terrain that you hunt them in that it keeps things interesting. Not every situation plays out exactly like the one I just described to you, but even though most of the game ends up amounting to mostly just walking through the woods, it's not boring, even though it sounds like it should be. The sense of anticipation is constant when you're on an animal's trail. It really keeps things at this low level of tension constantly until you take your shot. And all of that buildup and that tension all of a sudden is compressed in a few minutes of release while you take follow-up shots or you quickly chase the animal that you just spooked away with your gunfire. It's an incredible feeling every single time. The feeling that at any moment you might spot that animal and take your shot, and then the aftermath of that shot is what keeps this game from being more than just a walking simulator or a shooting simulator. It weirdly doesn't get old. It honestly just gets better as you find more types of animals and unlock more options in the store. That's why Virtual Hunter is the best VR hunting game around. It's also really the only purely VR hunting game around, and it's still in development with regular updates. The only part of Virtual Hunter, though, that I would say is not so interesting is when you wander around and aren't actively tracking an animal like when you just begin a hunt. This period of the game is thankfully usually short, but you're really just waiting for something to happen until you come across an animal to track, which isn't terribly interesting. Though the waiting does make actually hearing an animal call or finding some tracks to follow feel all that more exciting as you restart the process of slowly following them and ratcheting up that tension until you actually see them. There is also some jankiness in this game due to the unfinished nature of it, and you might have noticed that it doesn't look the best graphically, though some of that can be blamed on me streaming the game to a MetaQuest 3, which doesn't work the best with unoptimized games. So, Virtual Hunter still needs some work to be all that it can be, I won't deny that, but the jankiness that it has, I've happily ignored to experience the thrill of the hunt while standing in my living room. It's a unique VR experience that I never thought that I would enjoy so much. And I hope you do too. Virtual Hunter is available on Steam. I recommend you try it if this sounds at all interesting to you. As always, this has been Reality Remake. If you love Virtual Hunter or you found this review interesting, please leave a like, maybe a comment if you got something to say. And if you want more reviews like this, subscribe. Have a good one.